slightly manic. I'm on some antipsychotic medication right now. I've had a really severe mental health issue came on super fast, basically started Friday afternoon, so it's less than a week. And I just think it's really important as a white male, super privileged, really rich, with all kinds of connections in Invermere and really political connections across the province. I'm like the least important, most connected person you probably know. And I almost got killed by the system. And I don't know what that means. I really don't. I don't understand this. But I think it's pretty important to document. And I feel pretty strongly about this. And at this point, I actually have nothing to lose. Like I literally blew up my real estate career. I was making almost $1 million a year. Can you believe that? Selling real estate in Invermere. I was making almost $1 million a year. I was doing development. I was doing a little commercial project downtown. I was on town council. And I was having fun. I got 2 kids. And I was almost balancing all of it. I almost did it. And then I cracked. I absolutely cracked. And you know what? I realized the only thing that matters are my children.
My name is Gerry Taft, and I was born and raised in Invermere. In 2002, I was elected to Invermere Council at the age of 20. In 2008, at the age of 26, I was elected as mayor. I served as mayor for 10 years, and in 2018, I made the choice to seek a demotion and run for council. That was the same year I also became a realtor. I've owned and operated a number of businesses, and most people who know me would describe me as being pretty successful and pretty normal. I've got 2 young kids, and in the summer of 2023, I was working a lot and I was really struggling with work-life balance. I heard a statistic on the radio that said 1 in 3 Canadians suffer from mental health illness or have a mental health crisis in their lifetime. And that number seemed really high to me. I was really surprised by that. I never thought that I would be one of those numbers. In the September of 2023, I was attending the UBCM convention in Vancouver. The Union of BC Municipalities is an organization that represents all local governments in BC. And the annual convention is an opportunity to lobby the province and try to pass resolutions and try to impact and improve the situation. Some of the topics include homelessness, addictions, the lack of housing. And the conference was a lot of fun. I was attending a lot of receptions, drinking a lot. I was vaping some marijuana. But also the work as a realtor was piling up. I was getting further behind. And on the Thursday night, I attended an after party. A sponsor brought us to this high-end club in Yale Town, and it was such a weird environment. It seemed almost evil. It seemed unsafe. The people in that club, they seemed to be emotionless. There were stretched limos out the back door. There were escorts. I didn't know what I was doing in that environment. And then suddenly our host was stumbling. He'd been drugged. We had to take care of him, get him into a cab. From that point, we wandered off, and in a short time, we ended up on a Burger King on Granville Street. And the area felt like a war zone. There was plexiglass to protect the staff. It was 3:30 in the morning. There was people sleeping on the tables. But I felt warmer. I felt safer in that environment. The people there felt more genuine and more human. We had conversations with some of the people. The staff were stoic. There was no judgment. No one was pretending to be someone they weren't. And I had that small taste, firsthand experience of ultra wealth and urban poverty, and it shook me. I couldn't shake that feeling. It reminded me of some of the issues in my own life and some of the guilt for chasing money and for some of the challenges in our society. And from that point forward, things got really strange for me. From the Burger King, I ended up back in the hotel. I was feeling really good and trying to make sense of what I just experienced. I only slept for an hour, but I felt amazing on the Friday morning, almost too good. I don't know if I was drugged or not, but by the Friday afternoon when I landed in Calgary, trying to make my way back home, I felt like a 90-year-old man. I felt so tired and confused, and my brain was full of fog. It was such a hard time navigating, getting the car out of the parking, getting to the hotel. Once I made it to the hotel, I was pacing the hotel room. I felt like I had the solutions, some of the answers to all the problems in society. I was writing a book in my head. I was manic. It was fun until it wasn't fun. It started to get scary. I tried sleeping. I was sleeping in 1-hour increments. And that morning when I went down to the restaurant of the hotel, things didn't seem right. My social interactions were weird. I was on edge. I couldn't concentrate. There was fog outside. Everything seemed symbolic. And I focused, and this message came back to me. See your children one more time before you die. I made it to my truck and I phoned a crisis helpline and I drove back to Invermere and I got to see my children. And the first time in my life, I really felt like I understood my children. I understood myself. I understood my own flaws. I had this clarity that you hear people have right before they die. On the Sunday morning, I checked myself into the Invermere hospital. I was convinced that I was dying and I didn't know why. And through that day, I said goodbye to my children. I got my sister to film me talking about this experience in Vancouver. And I felt death crawling up in me. And in the moment when I felt like I was gonna die, there was so much energy and so much anxiousness. And then suddenly, the fire alarm went off.
That is fucking weird. That is so weird. That is the weirdest thing I've heard in my life. Wow. This is straight out of a fucking horror movie.
This is very weird.
So, anyway, I've been following just pure feelings for the last 3 days, and right now I have an urge to leave.
You
Grab your shoes.
don't
I
have
really
shoes
care,
on.
But if you could please grab them for me. I need the computer. I need the computer.
Okay, it's not
No.
it's at the camera store. It's just a false alarm.
Okay.
Yeah, so nothing to hear except for loud noises. Apologies for the disruption.
She said it's not.
It's next door. It's a false.
Yeah, it's false alarm?
False alarm.
That is amazing.
It's,
Okay, we're still
connected
going.
to the care home next door, so
You should stay.
No.
Come finish your
no,
story.
I'm going. You gotta trust me on this one. That means I can sleep at home tonight.
This means you can sleep at home tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of believe that either I can tell this story, or this story gets told, or I will die. And earlier today, I had accepted, 100% accepted, that I was actually going to die, and I just had to do the best to get what I could of the story out, and I probably wasn't going to live to see the story out, but it was important to me to get the story out. And then whatever happens after that doesn't matter because I'm not here. In the last little bit, it's gotten more intense, it's gotten more weird, but I'm starting to believe that maybe I won't die. Maybe I am just fucking crazy. Maybe it's a whole bunch of weird fucking shit. Or there are other crazy, wacky fucking alternatives. Maybe what I am trying to do right now, and I know this makes me sound like the craziest person in the fucking world who is speaking so rationally and is arguing as hard as they can and trying to make as much points as they can, that maybe if I release this information, the world will fucking change, and there are some people out there that don't want that.
Okay. What's the information?
Basically how to get along better, how to make the world better. And there's people that don't want that. Every time I've tried to do something cool and big in the political world, people have tried to stop me. And it's always been in really weird, manipulative, evil ways. And I'm not saying that that's actually true, but it kind of feels like they're trying to kill me.
I went from accepting death at the age of 41, for the first time in my life, taking my own mortality seriously, to being concerned that someone was trying to trick me into dying or there was some kind of conspiracy. That evening I spent at my mom's house and I had these visions, this vision that I had cheated death and I had to pick. I was equally tied between being good and evil. I got a vision of white light in eyes of people, little angels on earth, little miracles. But I also got a vision of evil people, black in their eyes, doing evil, selfish things. And I was supposed to pick between these two. I called a timeout. I got out my laptop and I wrote a contract. And I made pledges to be a better person, be a better father, be a better community member. And I asked for more time on earth so that I could be judged based on my actions. I asked for 1 more day, 7 more days, or 41 more years. I felt like there was power and significance in that contract and in that laptop, and then I had to save it and protect it from some kind of evil in society. The Monday morning after writing the contract to extend my life, I was fearful that if they or them couldn't get to me, maybe they would try to hurt my family or my kids. So I went back to my home on the Monday morning, and when I got to the home, it looked like there were black circles in my wife's eyes. I was afraid that maybe she was a demon or somehow under control of evil forces, and I had to protect my daughter. It felt like there was some kind of warmth or energy to her. Yet I had this laptop, which I thought had the secrets of the world or a lot of power and important things with this laptop. And it was a real life test of what I had promised. choosing family over community. And in that moment, I had to pick my daughter or the laptop. And I chose to protect my daughter. My wife then went to go have a shower, and I thought maybe I could do both. Maybe I could pick in between the good and evil and be in the gray and try to do both family and community. I grabbed the laptop and I grabbed my daughter and I ran down the street of my neighborhood, and I needed witnesses. I needed to prove that I would not hurt my family. I yelled, "I'm not safe, we are not safe," and I was looking for someone to protect Veronica. Neighbors were calling RCMP officers, but one neighbor came out and grabbed Veronica, kept her safe, and right around the corner was an RCMP officer. I was so afraid of being locked up and shut up and afraid of authority. I didn't know what to do. I yelled, "Pineapple," and he cracked a smile. I saw the humanity in him. It diffused the situation. He brought me back to the Invermere hospital, to the same room and the same bed where I thought I was going to die the night before. I got given some medication. I was told that I was arrested under the Mental Health Act. I never thought I would be arrested under the Mental Health Act. I got shipped by ambulance to Cranbrook. There was a security guard there. I was held in a secure section of the emergency room. Luckily, my mom was able to come and be an advocate. We waited about 5 or 6 hours, and a psychiatrist eventually saw me to assess me. I tried to tell the story and explain what I saw in Vancouver, and I wanted someone to listen and to try and make sense of everything. And he told me he didn't have time. He had a checklist he needed to fill out. And I didn't get the compassion and the understanding that I wanted, but he did prescribe me some medication. But then he told me that all the pharmacies in Cranbrook were closed, and I wouldn't be able to get the medication filled until the next day. And just like that, I went from almost ending up in the psych ward and not being allowed to grab food or leave that section of the hospital to being free and being on the street. But I realized I had no shoes. My shoes got forgotten in Invermere at the hospital, and I was now unmedicated with no shoes. And to me, it was symbolic of the system sometimes can forget about the person, forget about them coming out on the other end and recovering. And I was lucky. I was really lucky to have my mom there, to have supports and to be okay. But not everyone is that lucky. Not everyone has that support system.
My point here is, like, I've got enough privilege that they were about to go find my shoes in a really easy way just to get rid of me. That's not the point. That's not the point. I know that I have that power in this little town because people know me. But, like, the point is, what would happen with an average person? They came to this hospital and wanted their shoes back. Accidents happen, shoes get forgotten, whatever, doesn't matter. But how complicated is it? And it's really fucking complicated, and it's even more complicated if you want permission to video the experience. And there was a funny comment from one of the secretaries at the front was, I don't even know if we were allowed to call them secretaries, but anyway, the funny comment was, there's so many privacy rules because it's a public space. And I just looked at her and she looked at me and she said, I know. And I mean, at least some people are getting the irony, right? Like, at least some people understand just how silly this is. So that's my mission right now. I am crazy enough and I'm mad enough and I've got enough money and enough guts to just be a random dude and point out just the absurdity of all of this. And you know what? I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I think doing this is super good for my mental health. Everyone's so worried about me. I'm more worried about the system. I have a support network. I've got medication. I think I'm okay. I'm not, anyway, whatever. But that being said, I sat in a chair I shouldn't have sat in and it said boost. So maybe I need a boost. Maybe I need to take my meds. So anyway, I'm going to try and do me, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to point out some weird shit and have a lot of fun doing it. I love this. This is so much fun. Thank you.
I recognized while I was in a really manic stage and when I first checked into the Invermere hospital that I was lucky to get the access to healthcare that I did get. I was lucky to have a family doctor. And I recognized that being white, being well off, being well known in the community, not having a criminal record, not being someone with a history of mental health illness, this allowed people to give me the benefit of the doubt. And I got some really good treatment. I was really privileged. But even with that treatment in the system, no one had time to listen. Everyone was so busy. The morale was low. A lot of the healthcare workers seemed to be burned out, and everyone was focused on filling out checklists. And because I didn't have someone listening to me and I just didn't know who to trust, I reached out on social media. I posted and was transparent that I was struggling with mental health, and I was very transparent on social media. But my message and my tone wasn't perfect. I posted some strange things, And ultimately, there were repercussions and negatives to being so transparent. I ended up having my work email blocked by my former real estate office. They surrendered my real estate license, and I definitely suffered some real consequences from a career and a financial perspective. I was really afraid of being locked up and shut up and ending up in a institution or some kind of psych ward. And so it was really important for my recovery that I was at home and I was in my home community of Invermere. However, the solution, it seemed, was medication, and it was a lot of medication. And I got to a point where it felt like I was over medicated. It was starting to impair my cognitive abilities. It was starting to actually work against my recovery. So I started to decrease the amount of medication I was taking. And I'm so thankful that I had such a strong support network with family and friends and the District of Invermere Council and staff. There were a lot of people who believed in me and didn't cancel me, didn't shun me. And being at home with my kids, being able to walk around downtown Invermere, pretending it was the 1980s, reliving my childhood, seeing people that I know, waving at them, getting hugs, this was so important for my recovery. And over time, by decreasing the medication, writing about the experience, seeing an energy healer, and eventually going to therapy, these were things that helped me to recover and rebuild. I was so privileged and so lucky to have the support network that I had, and to also have the financial resources to be able to see an energy healer and see a counselor and sort of take over some of my own care and make sure that I was doing the recovery that made sense for me. And I recognize that not everybody is in that position. And I don't know if my recovery and my rebuilding would have been as successful or as quick if it weren't for these factors. In conclusion, one of the things that was most important that I learned from my experience was to drop shame and guilt and accept my own flaws and my own imperfections, and to consciously lead with love and compassion instead of fear and anger. I believe right now there's a lot of people who are leading with fear and anger. I think there's a lot of government systems that are leading with fear and anger. And there's a pull to polarization. People are being pulled into different camps. And we need to resist that urge to argue over the finer details, over the things that really don't matter. Most of us have the same shared values and we have the same goals, and we need to focus on the bigger picture and those shared goals. When you're really struggling and you're running down the street with your daughter, you don't care how your neighbors vote. You just want neighbors to support you and help you. You want a community that you believe in and believes in you. And one of the main reasons for writing this book and doing this video is to decrease stigma, increase conversation around mental health and around work burnout, and ultimately try to help build the capacity for listening, both in our families and in our communities, so that when someone is struggling, if someone yells out their safe word, whatever their safe word is, we're there to help, we're there to support. Deep down, I think we're all like little kids. We want to be loved, we want to be heard, and we want to be seen. I love you, I hear you, I see you. Thank you.